Hey guys, mahal everyone, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel with another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In today's video guys, we're going to be taking a look at the next upcoming Lost Chapters featured in the global version of Opera Omnia, which is going to be featuring the return of the insane clown from Final Fantasy VI, Kefka. Now if you guys are excited for this event and you missed out on Kefka on his initial release, get those dark high shards ready, get those dark crystals ready, so then that way you could build up this ridiculous clown when he comes back to us in Opera Omnia. With this particular Lost Chapters, we're going to be seeing some synergy with Bartz and Tifa for this event, and it's also going to be featuring the return of the boss known as the Skull Wizard, which we will be able to combat against in this particular Lost Chapters. So without further ado, with the upcoming return of Kefka, let's take a look at what his level 60 awakening gives him. So at level 54, he's going to be getting debuff speed up, which is going to be giving him a medium speed up to himself when an enemy is debuffed, and then at 58 he gets buff attack and boost up, giving him a 40% attack and max brave increase to himself while he is buffed. So I do like the level 58 passive in particular because we know that Kefka is all about dealing damage. He is all about those clutch debuffs, so then that way he's able to dish out more damage with the attack and max brave increase that he gets from the 58 passive. I also like the 54 passive, that way it makes him a little bit faster. He's able to hopefully act before the enemy targets are able to act before him. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at his abilities with the weapon passives equipped, and then afterwards take a look at what happens with his level 60 awakening as far as these abilities go. So his first ability is called Trine. Pre-awakening with the 15 CP passive equipped. This ability increases Kefka's own brave by 1.5 times the current amount. It will deal HP damage afterwards after the brave increase. It also inflicts the blind debuff as well as HP attack silence for 2 turns. So that means that while the enemy is also blinded, they won't be able to use HP attacks against your party for 2 turns. And then it also changes his brave attack to Meteor for 1 turn, which is going to be a 6-hit non-elemental magic brave attack that reverts back to the standard brave attack after usage. This does have a 225% brave damage potency, and something that I do want to mention with Meteor is that this is going to be the case for all of his abilities. So after you use his abilities, that Meteor command is going to be available to him for 1 turn for usage. So after Trine gets an awakening with his level 60, this is going to be now increasing his own brave by 1.5 times the current amount, so that doesn't change. However, this time it's going to be a 2-hit AoE non-elemental magic brave plus HP attack. So now we get brave damage included with this ability, and its AoE is at a 150% brave damage potency. The HP damage that he does deal is divided equally amongst targets. If this is used against a single target, the brave damage dealt is increased by 1.6 times. It does get an overflow mechanic of up to 150% of max brave, and just like it did last time, it changes his brave attack to Meteor for 1 turn. So overall, I do like the upgrades that this particular ability gets. I do like that now it has brave hits. While the damage potency is a little bit on the low side, I think the fact that it does inflict that blind as well as the HP attack silence is what makes Kefka very unique, because when it comes to really dangerous situations with tough boss fights, this can actually be used to your advantage. That way you could save your party from an untimely death and be able to prepare the next turn. So then essentially Kefka is able to think of him as like he can reset the fight in a sense. So in the event that you mess up on, let's say, an ability that you use, or you weren't timing something properly, you have Kefka that can essentially reset that with the blind and the HP attack silence. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at his second ability, which is called Light of Judgment. This is going to be pre-awakening, which is essentially what we currently have with his 35 CP. So Light of Judgment currently is a 2-hit non-elemental magic brave plus HP attack with a 140% brave damage potency. This does inflict a 30% attack and defense down and speed down debuffs for 4 turns, so that's 3 debuffs that we're getting. And then just like his other ability, it does change his brave attack to Meteor for 1 turn. Now upon his awakening, Light of Judgment is now a 2-hit non-elemental AoE magic brave plus HP attack with a 200% brave damage potency. The HP damage is divided equally amongst all targets. It does increase the brave damage dealt to to a single target by 1.6 times. Brave can overflow just like his other ability to 150% of max Brave. He now also grants himself 40% attack up for 6 turns, and the debuffs that it does inflict doesn't change. It's still at 30% attack and defense down and speed down for 5 turns. However, the ability does have a lower action delay, and just like what his other ability does, it will change his Brave attack command to Meteor for 1 turn. So overall, Light of Judgment pretty much got the same treatment as Trine. The debuffs weren't really changed up. However, I do like how they buffed up Kefka's attack with the attack up, and then also the increased Brave damage potency. I would have liked to see it maybe a little bit higher, but at least the debuffs do make up for it, and now it's AoE. Alright, so now that we know what his abilities can do upon his awakening, let's take a look at what passives that we can farm up for him as far as artifact passives to make him more effective. So with Kefka, we're going to want to go with attack plus 108. That way he can deal out more damage, especially we know that his Brave damage potencies for his abilities are, even though after awakening, they're still a little bit on the low side, but then again, since he does have those debuffs, it allows him to actually deal more damage, so attack plus 108 will benefit him the most. Max Brave plus 330 is definitely something you're going to want, so then that way his HP damage threshold will be higher, and that way you can also take advantage of the overflow that he has in both abilities. And then Mighty Light of Judgment, the reason why I say you want to go with this one is because Light of Judgment is the attack or his ability that does more damage at 200% Brave damage potency compared to 150% for Trine. And obviously, since this is the ability that you're going to be going to a lot, you want this one to deal as much damage as possible. So now we're going to be taking a look at what is the banner as far as the release of this upcoming event. Now, upon the release of this Lost Chapters to the global version of the game, it's going to be featuring the return of Kefka's 15 and 35 CP weapons, as well as the return of Bart and Tifa's 15 and 35 CP weapons. However, as we know, with Lost Chapters moving forward, we're also going to be getting the featured EX weapon for the featured character, which is going to be none other than Kefka's EX weapon, the Stylish Hair Ornament. Now, the Stylish Hair Ornament is going to be equipping him with the EX ability called Havoc Wings. This is going to be a 3-hit non-elemental magic Brave plus HP attack. It does deal 1.5 times more Brave damage against a debuffed target, which with Kefka, the enemy is going to be debuffed, so you're going to be taking advantage of this most of the time. It does have that same overflow mechanic of 150% of max Brave, just like his abilities. It also will be inflicting a unique debuff or a frame debuff called Ridiculous Clown for 6 turns. And Ridiculous Clown lowers attack, defense, and speed by 20%, and also inflicts that sap effect. So every turn, the enemy's Brave is going to be lowered and it's going to essentially be transferred over to Kefka. This ability does have a low action delay. It does have a 360% Brave damage potency. Now, if you limit break this weapon 3 out of 3, it's going to be permanently raising Kefka's max Brave by 50% and increasing the Brave attack command's overall Brave damage potency to 190%. Keep in mind, this EX ability at base has a normal casting speed. However, when you fully max limit break, it's going to be at slightly fast, so you can see yourself being able to cast his EX ability quite often. Now, this also changes his Brave attack or the Meteor command to Meteor Plus for 1 turn, which is going to be a 6-hit non-elemental magic Brave attack. However, when you use this, it will revert back to either Meteor or Brave attack after usage. This does have a 290% Brave damage potency. So after taking a look at what Kefka gets at his awakening, as well as the EX weapon that we're going to be getting upon the release of his Lost Chapters, is this character for fun or for glory, and is this character's EX weapon worth pulling for now? So this is my opinion on this weapon. Kefka is a very powerful debuffer. He is a clutch debuffer, so unlike Vanille, where she's straight up a very aggressive debuffer that can dispel, Kefka is one of those that he gives you clutch, so he essentially will give you a second chance, which makes him very powerful. However, that comes from his first ability, Trine. So in a sense, all you really need for that is his 55 CP, or his 55 passive, as well as his 15 CP weapon. And then afterwards, you have Light of Judgment. With the passive, it really helps out. That way you take advantage of those pretty powerful debuffs. I mean, 30% reduction on attack and defense is pretty good. That way, not only Kefka is dealing more damage, but the rest of your party is dealing more damage. As far as his EX weapon goes, yes, you can cast it a lot because it is at a slightly fast speed, provided that you do max limit break it. It does have a very powerful, unique debuff, very comparable to Ramza's. However, I think it's better than Ramza's frame debuff because of the sap. However, let's see what's coming after Kefka. We got Golbez. Very powerful, Burst damage dealer, Dark Element, okay? We have Lena. You guys already know how powerful Lena's EX is, as well as how good of a character she is, utility-wise. I even said it in my top 4 White Crystal passive users. If you guys watch that video, she's one of those characters that's going to last you for a long time because of the amazing utility she provides, not only with her heals, but as well as the initial Brave debuff. Then afterwards, we got Sephiroth, who is a very powerful physical damage dealer, and then with his EX, he has a powerful EX ability that also gives him free ability usage. So Kefka, just like kind of like Rosa, has his EX banner so close to other good banners, which I'm going to say right now are better characters. I even forgot to mention Rinoa. Rinoa is another one that is going to be coming fairly soon, towards the end of the month of June for the global version of the game. So unless you're looking for a really powerful debuffer, and unless you are lacking a debuffer, like let's say your Vanille isn't built up and you don't want to invest in Vanille, or Kefka is your favorite, or you don't want to invest in Ferris, or whatever debuffer, I would say maybe save your gems. Kefka does have a really hilarious animation with his EX, which is why a lot of people really enjoyed it. And yeah, it is pretty clutch. It does help your party deal out more damage. But we're getting so many good banners within the next few months, especially also with the announce of the summer banners, where they're going to be featuring, they're going to be refeaturing some EX weapons that we saw. It's really difficult to justify that, hey, I think Kefka is a really good pull. He does get a lot better. I still think that he should have a little bit higher Brave damage potencies. But if you decide to pull for him, if he's your favorite, then by all means go ahead and do so. But I will say right now that it's probably better to invest your gems somewhere else. And this weapon does come back eventually, so we will see it again. It's not like it's going to disappear, and with the way that Global is trending right now, you never know. They may repeat this weapon on a different banner that we've never even seen on JP before. So if you hold off now, it's perfectly fine. You still have him at his awakening with that clutch and with those pretty powerful debuffs. But if you decide to pull for him now, he's going to get a little bit better, but I say hold off for now. So with Kefka's LC, I did mention earlier in the beginning that we're going to be seeing the return of the Skull Wizard's boss. So a little bit of details on these two bosses. First of all, there's going to be 2 of them. They have no weaknesses, but they are resistant to dark, with both a standard chase HP value of 40. One thing that I want you guys to know is that these bosses do have a little bit of HP compared to other bosses, so they're slightly tanky. Some key abilities to look out for. When it says brazenly it smirks, it's guaranteed next turn that they're going to use an ability called Candle in the Wind, which is essentially an ability that raises their Brave before they inflict an HP attack. So this is where Kefka can be very useful with his Trine ability Awaken, so then that way, HP attack silence, your party won't suffer HP damage. They also do use an ability called Soul Sucking Scriptures, which is an AoE Brave magic attack that increases their Brave based on the damage dealt. And then they do buff themselves with something called Darkness Falls, which increases their attack, defense, and speed up. I'm going to be honest, even though they do have high HP and you want to watch out for their HP attacks, with characters such as Quistis, even Tifa without her EX, and she deals more damage to skeleton type enemies, and if you have her EX, even better, right? And she recently just got an awakening. These bosses aren't going to be very difficult, especially if you just plan accordingly. With Kefka, it'll make it easier, but I mean, even right now with Ifrit, World of Illusions, being able to build him up to level 30, and now we can summon him a lot faster, and we get that attack increase from his blessing, which is a lot better because now it's at 80% or greater HP versus just having it at full HP. Not really going to be too tough of a boss fight. Just plan your attacks accordingly. If you're going to use 2 Quistises, like what everybody's doing right now, plan those delays. If you use Kefka, he's going to provide you that clutch. But yeah, this boss fight isn't going to be too difficult at all. Just watch out for the HP attacks. Now again, like I said earlier, if you plan on building up Kefka, be sure to use those Dark High Shards, have them saved up, because he can provide to be very useful as far as clutch situations. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is actually do the Lost Chapters stage level 100. I'm going to use the Synergy Party for this, so then that way you guys are able to see what these bosses can do. So we're going to go ahead and go over to here. So this is going to be the Lost Chapters. It does play Kefka's theme, which is pretty cool. I am taking Kefka, Bartz, and Tifa. Something to note is that some of these characters did get their reworks as far as JP-wise go. So you may see their abilities performing a little bit differently compared to what we have in Global. But again, this is a visual showcase for those of you that want to see what to expect from this upcoming Lost Chapter. So I will be taking Ifrit at level 30 because on Global we do have this. I won't take a friend unit, only because, you know, I want to show you guys that it can be done without a friend unit. Alright, so it's a 5-wave battle, standard wave. Open up with Tifa's second ability. Okay, with Bart's, again, his abilities might look a little bit different compared to what we have on Global. Okay, so we're gonna actually save the Shrine because we know that the boss likes to use HP attacks, so that HP attack silence can really come in handy in case we get in a tough pinch. Let's go ahead and use Tifa's first ability, her Beat Rush. Let's go ahead and use Bart's missile so that way it is mastered. The mid-boss fight is going to be the Skull Dragon, or the Soul Dragon, the purple version of the Skull Dragon. Again, not too difficult. And it's nice that at times we get lost chapters or events that aren't really as hard as other events, because it's a nice breather, you know? Sometimes it's nice to have these breather events, especially for us, especially for newer players, you know? Alright, so we got Tifa's launch. So on JP, I do have her EX. I have a majority of EXs on my JP account, which is pretty cool. So I can showcase most of these to you guys. So let's just go ahead and use Light of Judgment again. And the cool thing about Light of Judgment is because it's a 30% reduction on defense, you can expect your party to be able to deal more damage. So this is why Kefka, in a sense, you could say that his debuffs do provide some utility too, even though he doesn't hit that hard himself. Okay. Alright, so the boss fight is coming up. We have our summon ready. We won't use it just yet. I want you to see what these bosses can do for those of you that are brand new to these particular bosses. Okay, so let's go ahead and just use Double Hand. We're going to use Tifa's second ability, and then go straight into her Beat Rush. Ooh, Kefka has his EX. So check this EX out. It's pretty funny. So he does a really silly pose. It's like he's sneaking around. And then he does like a Street Fighter Blanca Ball, or his version of Street Fighter Blanca Ball. So they're both targeting Kefka. I'm going to assume they're going to go for an HP attack. So let's just see if we get the HP attack silence off. It didn't do as much damage as it normally would, only because Kefka's Brave wasn't built up at all. And the Brave gain is based on the current amount of his Brave. Okay, so they're just buffing themselves. Okay, so no HP attack there, but they still have that debuff on for at least one more turn. Let's go ahead and use Missile. Let's just see what happens here. Okay, so right there, they're buffing themselves, and now it's smirking, so more than likely they're gonna go ahead and use their HP attack, so we're gonna go ahead and see that in effect here. Okay, so with Tifa, let's go ahead and get the launch off. So again, as you can see, these bosses do have a lot of HP. So that's just something to know, especially if you're paying attention to your turns. You want to make sure you get those high score requirements. So now that one is buffing itself up with Darkness Falls. It's also smirking, so they're getting ready, you know. Okay, and actually I just realized neither of them have the HP attack silence, so we're going to go ahead and get that off because they were able to get turns off, so it wore off. Alright, so we have it there. Good for 2 turns. With Tifa, we're just going to go ahead and just DPS B down, trying to give them both an equal amount of damage. We're going to go ahead and apply Ridiculous Clown on A. Okay, and soon you guys will see what I'm talking about. I know that their turns are being used up because our party is just so OP right now. Okay, so A goes. Oh, guess what? HP attack silence. So it tried to use, it was probably going to use Candle in the Dark, and as you could see, nothing happened because Kefka silenced it. So again, all you need for that is his 15 CP as well as his level 55 passive to be able to take advantage of that. That way you're dealing the actual AoE version of it versus the single target version. Okay, we're just going to see B. I just want you guys to see B get silenced too. Oh, too bad, B. You can't use an HP attack. Alright, so now we're just going to go ahead and pop summon. So that's essentially what you want to look out for when you're going up against these 2 bosses. Not too hard, again. You could probably cheese this with double Quistis or something crazy that we have currently on Global. Ridiculous Clown is up, but I'd rather just do the AoE divided HP damage to damage both of them. Let's just Trine again. Okay. Missile. We take advantage of the battery that Bartz provides with that ability. Launch him. Ridiculous Clown. Or Havoc Wing with the Ridiculous Clown debuff. That ability is so funny. If you guys happen to pull his EX weapon, just know that animation never gets old. It's probably one of the most humorous animations that they have for an EX ability. And what more deserving for Kefka to have something like that? Because, you know, he is a clown after all. A very powerful clown, but nonetheless still a clown, so it fits him perfectly. Oh, HP attack silence. Kefka coming through here. We're going to go ahead and use another Trine. So, yeah, Kefka shuts both of these bosses down pretty hard, because they like to use those HP attacks. Okay, one down. And let's see if Kefka can finish it off with his Ridiculous Clown. What I do like, though, which I didn't mention in my video discussion, is that I do like how Kefka's abilities, except for his Meteor, have an overflow, which is nice, you know. That way, at least he, with all the debuffs that he does deal, you know, he has a good chance of reaching that overflow. But that is going to be the boss fight, guys. Again, just a reminder, have those Dark High Shards ready, or those Dark Crystals. If you plan on building up Kefka, just remember that Kefka, his Trine, all you need is the 15 CP and the 55 passive. Pulling for the EX weapon makes him better. But again, like I said, so many good banners coming out, so you just want to outweigh your options that way, so you can plan accordingly as far as which banners you want to pull for upon the release of his Lost Chapters. Once again, this is 40 the Broadway Saiyan. Stay tuned for my next video, and to mahal, everyone.